This is lesson 506 in African kingdoms. We're going north, south, east, and west all over Africa. And the essential question is this: what was Africa like before and after the introduction of Islam? So, what is the geography of Africa? How might this geography impact Africans? The geography of Africa. Africa's geography is very diverse, and Africans lived differently based on where in Africa they lived. For example, the dense trees and the lack of edible vegetation in the humid rainforest make it an unwelcoming environment for most people. Or how about the desert? The Sahel means coastline in Arabic. African people may have named it this because the Sahara seemed like a vast ocean of sand, or maybe it seemed like a gigantic sandy beach. The Sahara is the world's largest desert, and it acted as a barrier to separate North Africa from sub-Saharan Africa. Early societies of North Africa were influenced by Mediterranean cultures such as the Phoenicians and the Romans. But by 750, North Africans were part of the Islamic Empire. They converted to Islam, and they shared in the Arabic culture. But African societies south of the Sahara, also known as sub-Saharan, were isolated, and they missed out on the cultural diffusion of the Middle Ages, Unit 4 for us. So how did people in early sub-Saharan Africa live? Characteristics of sub-Saharan Africa. While the societies of sub-Saharan Africa were diverse, they shared some similarities. For example, most societies lived in farming villages in family-based clans. Few sub-Saharan societies had written languages. Their histories were preserved by oral historians called griots, and sub-Saharan Africans also made iron tools. Now, we already learned this. The Hittites, way up in Anatolia, in Western Asia, as we know, also had iron, but there's just about zero chance that these two societies ever met each other, so they came up with iron independently. Iron is harder than bronze, as we know, and it made more effective weapons and more effective farm implements. Sub-Saharan people were polytheistic, or they practiced animism, a religion which teaches that spiritual energy exists in nature and plays a role in daily life. The Bantu Migrations. Over the course of almost 3,000 years, Bantu peoples of Central Africa migrated south in search of farmland. They either hurried through or went entirely around these equatorial rainforests. You might think a rainforest would be a pleasant place to live, but it was not. They had lots of diseases, and they were difficult to farm in. These Bantu migrations helped spread new farming and ironworking techniques. The Bantu migrated across southern Africa. They spread agriculture, ironworking, language, and culture. Their language, Swahili, was a mixture coming from both Bantu tribes and Arabic and Islamic traders. Zimbabwe, a major kingdom in Africa, prospered due to trade with the Muslims. Great Zimbabwe was the only major state in the region, and they traded with the Swahili coast. So what factors shaped the culture of East Africa? Northeast Africa and Christianity. Kush, Nubia, and Sudan. The culture here was heavily influenced by Egyptian architecture and religion. Their pyramids and steles and gods were an indication. Aksum, also spelled Aksum, was the first Christian state in Africa. It was Ethiopian Orthodox, and it shaped the Ethiopian kingdoms, particularly the town of Lalibela in Ethiopia. The Indian Ocean Trade Network. This network stretched from the East African coast to the Middle East, to India, to Indonesia, and to China. And this trade included African products such as ivory, gold, and slaves. Slaves from Africa were traded to the Islamic empires of the Middle East to be used as soldiers, servants, and laborers. Spices, silk, and other Asian goods from China, India, and Indonesia were traded back to Africa and the Middle East in exchange. East Africa. The societies of East Africa also participated in the Indian Ocean trade network, and they were shaped by the cultural diffusion that came with that trade. The kingdom of Aksum traded with Persia, India, Arabia, and Rome, and Aksum, as we know, became a Christian kingdom. This is the Aksum Church, excavated in Ethiopia. The spread of Islam to East Africa. Arab merchants introduced Islam to East African trade cities, and the mix of African and Arab cultures led to a new Swahili language. Towns had mosques and were ruled by a Muslim sultan, but many people kept their traditional religious beliefs. So what factors shaped the culture of West Africa? West Africa was shaped by the Trans-Saharan trade network. West Africa had large deposits of gold but lacked salt. So the gold-salt trade connected North Africa and West Africa. The gold-salt trade across the Sahara Desert increased cultural diffusion with Muslim merchants. Islam was introduced in West Africa, and it slowly gained converts. Many Africans blended Islam with animism or never converted. The gold-salt trade led to wealth and empires in West Africa. By the year 800, Ghana had become an empire by taxing merchants, building a large army, and conquering surrounding people. Eventually, Ghana was overthrown and the Mali Empire emerged in around 1230. Mali's king, Sundiata Keita, took over the Ghana kingdom and the trade cities in West Africa. And Sundiata Keita created an efficient government, he promoted farming, and he controlled trade. The kings who ruled Mali after Sundiata Keita converted to Islam, and the most important Mali king was Mansa Musa. He built a 100,000-man army to keep control over Mali. He divided Mali into provinces ruled by appointed governors. But here's what Mansa Musa is most known for. The kingdom of Mali produced so much gold that its king, Mansa Musa, is generally regarded as the richest man who ever lived. Mansa Musa was a devout Muslim, and he went on the Hajj to Mecca in 1324. Mansa Musa passed out gold nuggets to the people he met along the way. On his way to Mecca, Mansa Musa gave away and spent tremendous amounts of gold. And because of this, he wound up seriously inflating the economies of literally every town he stopped at. This is a European map of Africa. Very little was known about Africa below the Sahara, but Mansa Musa is on the map. Based on his image on the map, what did Europeans know about Mansa Musa? When Mansa Musa returned from his Hajj to Mecca, he built mosques throughout Mali, including in Timbuktu. This trade city of Timbuktu attracted scholars, doctors, and religious leaders. It had a university, it became an important center for learning, and best of all, you can even buy the Timbuktu Lego set with Mansa Musa in it as one of its Lego characters. The cities of Djenné and Timbuktu became major trade and Islamic cultural centers. Kings, elites, and merchants adopted Islam in large numbers to facilitate smooth trade and diplomatic relations with Islamic lands to the north. Here's another picture of the approach to Timbuktu. After Mansa Musa died, Mali declined and was replaced by the Songhai Empire. Songhai had begun as just a Mali province, but it became independent around 1430, and its kings gained control of trade cities along the gold-salt trade routes. Songhai grew into the largest of the West African empires, and its fall in the year 1591 ended a 1,000-year era of empires in West Africa. Conclusion. African societies were transformed by two powerful forces: trade with outsiders and the introduction of Islam to the culture.